reverence for Menachem Begin and his connections with the center over the years. On behalf of my family, I want to extend my appreciation to Ambassador Lou, Nathan Sharansky, Gil Troy, and Ruth Abramson for speaking this evening. We felt strongly as a family that although we did not sit Shiva in Israel, there should be a memorial here in Israel. This is because of my father's deep connection to the land, both on a personal and political level. His familial connection to Israel traces back to a great uncle, Moshe Segalovich, who is seen as a hero in the family. Born in 1896 in the town of Skiddo, he immigrated to Israel in 1912 and became a member of Kfutzat HaRo'im, literally translated the shepherd group, who, similar to Hashomer, saw the importance of training youth to work and protect the land. Moshe was killed protecting the area of Ner Chavya in 1918 and was eventually buried in Tel Chai. Another great hero of the family was Uri Segalovich, a cousin of my father's, who my father had a deep connection with. Uri, Zichronav Livracha, was one of the founding generation of the State of Israel. He fought in every war he was physically fit enough to fight in, even when he was exempt from the reserves. And although he was not religious, he seemed to know the Tanakh by heart. My father relished in the time spent with him, and some of my father's first experiences in Israel were with Uri. I'm not certain that earlier in his life, my dad expected that one of his children would make the leap and move to Israel. But when Daniel, the kids, and I made Aliyah 6 years ago, this only strengthened his connection to the land. In his classic way, he took advantage of every experience here that he could. In the last year or so, this included a trip to Hebron, the Qumran Caves, cherry picking in Gush Etzion, our son Akiva's bar mitzvah, and countless other family excursions. Every experience in Israel was just wonderful when you were with my dad, whether it be grabbing some food at a local cafe or walking through the old city to get to the Kotel. That walk took a very long time because he was stopped. If there were tourists, he was stopped the whole way there. He loved the miracle that was and is the State of Israel and the vibrancy of life here. He so enjoyed every moment spent with children, grandchildren, and friends. On a political level, I don't believe he ever felt any sort of dialectical tension between being a patriotic American and an ardent Zionist. The concept of dual loyalty could not be found in the Lieberman dictionary because he saw the interests of the U.S. and Israel as being intertwined. The last 3 months have been challenging and unexpected ones for our family. My father's sudden passing has left us all painfully shocked. But we are certainly taking cues from my dad, who is not one to let things freeze him from action, from doing, from persevering. And so that is our charge as well, to react as he would want us to. Over the past few months, as I've sat and reflected upon my father's life and legacy, upon his midot tovot, his beautiful character traits, there is so much that comes to the surface. At the same time, to distill the personality of a parent is in a way belittling and futile. Yet, I feel there is so much to learn from my dad, and so in that spirit, I'd like to share with you 2 aspects of my father's personality that I think we can all learn from. Traits that have perhaps not been mentioned as much in a public forum and are perhaps something that I can share as a family member. The first was my father's easygoing and calm demeanor. In the midst of what seemed like a whirlwind of projects he was working on, he rarely, if ever, seemed stressed. He had an inner calm to him, and he didn't let the small day-to-day annoyances of life get to him. Small mishaps that happened to us all throughout each week were often laughed at by my father and my mother. May she live until 120. My father is also a flexible person, and so at home the coffee machine with his favorite coffee would be set up the night before to go off at exactly the right time in the morning. But this didn't mean that when he came to visit us, he needed anything more than instant coffee. And you knew when you were with him that you would seem downright ridiculous to get stressed over small annoyances of day-to-day life. How bogged down do each of us get from the small things that go wrong in our lives, and how much headspace does it take up? My dad didn't let small things impact his mood. and I believe it left him with a very clear head to accomplish everything he accomplished and enjoy life the way that he did. My father was grateful for all his blessings and enjoyed many of the small moments of life that most of us choose to ignore. 2 days before my father died, he remarked on a phone call to a friend, "I have to be one of the luckiest guys on the planet." The morning Moda'ani prayer was not just a line he mumbled each morning as he woke up. It was a guiding principle for each day of his life. He was grateful for his wife, for his family, for his health, even if it wasn't 100%, and for his daily experiences. He was genuinely thankful for another day to live. Everything was done with vitality, a sense of purpose and intention. Whether it was a small, seemingly mundane moment like walking our son Gan up the street from our home, or even a walk, it might sound silly, to bring the garbage out. When you were around my father, these positive vibes rubbed off on you. They were almost infectious because everything was great, as he would say. Perhaps he was born a naturally positive person, or perhaps it was part of his personality that he cultivated over time. In either case, it's something we can all learn from. My dad's gratitude was in large part rooted in his faith. His religious practice was not a manufactured Judaism. He had a deeply personal connection to his Creator. He began each day with Moda'ani, finished each day with Shema, and davened multiple times a day, wherever he was in the world. He enjoyed Torah study and tried to spend time after his daily shachrit learning something. In fact, shortly after he died, I knew that every day he would learn something, and I needed to find what he had learned on the last day of his life. I found the Steinsaltz Chumash and a book of the teachings of Rav Kook on the Parsha bookmark on just that Parsha of the week. His heart was open to learning and growing. Members of the Iranian opposition exile attended the Shiva. They had built a relationship with my dad because of his involvement in United Against the Nuclear Iran. As my mother and I spoke with them about my father, I shared with them how we were in shock and pain, and at the same time, we can see my father as he sometimes did with his fist in the air, saying onward, or in Hebrew, kadima. They shared with us that he would end his remarks with the same phrase in Farsi and the same fist in the air when he spoke at their conferences. So I say to each of you here, if you took the time to come here tonight, it means that you were in some way impacted by my dad's life, and so too by his death. And so I say to each of you, onward, kadima. This doesn't mean to forget about his life and legacy, but rather it's a call to action, that each of us moves forward with Yosef Yisrael ben Hanan's life as an inspiration and motivating force in our own lives. God willing, by doing this, we will be able to improve ourselves, impact our families, and larger communities. Thank you.